Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. So for today's card I'm using Neat and Tangled's Beach Day, Lawn Fawn's stitched hillside borders and the oval stitched stackables, is that what they're called? I've also got the Ocean Waves from Lawn Fawn and the Sandy Accents, I think they're called, again from Lawn Fawn, to create the layers that I want for this card. I thought I'd do something a little bit different today. So all the paper that I'm using today is a mixed media paper from W.H. Smith. I've not had the best luck in the past with it. It works brilliantly with some things, and other products it doesn't work so well. So it's like anything, it's a paper I will pick up. I like mixed media papers, but every paper is going to be different, even the same type. So every mixed media paper is going to be different, and some work much better than others, and some, well, like I say, not so much. So this worked really quite well. So I dragged out some Lawn Fawn inks that I do have. Have to say that by the end of this, my little, there's like a paint palette thing on the right hand side here where I'm smushing those little ink cubes in, and in the end they stained those cubes, those little wells, so much I was quite shocked. The grape soda in particular stained one of them so badly. So I don't know, there might be some way of like getting rid of that ink, but we'll see what happens. So to start with, I basically smush a bit of ink into the little wells, which is fantastic. And this is the Waffle Flower Media Matte. And I love this thing. It's so good, but my camera does not. So this week I am using it, but I will probably go back to just my Tim Holtz glass matte from next week, just because my camera doesn't like the white background for some reason. It freaks out, so apologies for that. So what I was doing initially was using one of those water aqua brush things that I can never remember the name of, that had water in it, but it was too watery. It was, I know it sounds weird, but it was too much with the water I'd added to the ink color as well. So in the end I decided to switch to a paintbrush, and I have so much better control when I use a paintbrush. I don't know why. Yeah, just do. So I switched to a regular little paintbrush, and I can't remember what number this is. It's like maybe a 1 or a 2. It's a small brush. Maybe we'll see it in a second when I move it. Excuse me. So I just kept smushing some of these colors. I couldn't tell you what colors they are. I just kind of went with it. This one I will show you because I thought it was ironic that I was going to use the color Hippo on the hippo. And these stamps I've had for quite a long time, and I just decided to drag them out. They were, I find them hysterical. The characters in them are just so cute. And this one in particular I thought was just genius. It's a little hippo, and she's got her watermelon that she's munching on. So I just thought it was so funny. So I had to do this. And what hippo is not complete without her nails being painted? I'm just saying. So that's why she's got blue nails. Anyway, I also stamped the flag, which I'm painting now. And like, if I haven't said it already, this is very simple watercoloring. This is nothing fancy. You guys can do this, and I'm using my inks to do this. So if you've got dye inks, you can do this. Don't worry that whether you've got, you just need something that's non-porous that you can smush the ink on. You can use an acrylic block or a white tile, perfect, and then just use a bit of water and a paintbrush. Super easy, guys. But I stamped the beach bums, and I stamped it, that's actually the sentiment for the card, and I stamped it slightly off to the right, and the reason is I'm going to add something to the front of that when we get there, and I will show you that when we get there. So I'm using my hippo ink on my hippo and I also decided that she needed a pink snout. I don't know why, but a pink snout on a hippo just makes sense in my head. They don't have pink snouts, but I just think they look cute with it. So I had to create a sort of shade of pink, but I had so many different sort of rainbow, like a rainbow of colors to the right of me, that it was pretty easy to get that the color going. So very, very light pink that I sort of made there for her snout, and it's just perfect. So really chuffed with that. And then the last little thing is her teeth, and then the sand. So to create the sand in the bucket, the colour, I weirdly couldn't remember what combination would make brown, but eventually I just mixed until I got a brown shade. So yeah, and then I will set that off to one side, let it dry, and then I'll die cut them out. I actually have the dies for that particular set as well. So I have cut numerous ovals and then used the border dies to create those different layers. So this first whole oval, this is actually the second one. It's the largest of the small set from Lawn Fawn, and I just used some tumbled glass just again to create a very simple background sky thing. You've seen this in a few videos now, where it's just the easiest way to get a sky background. And for the ocean pieces, I'm gonna ink the whole thing in some salty ocean. Perfect color for this. But I will also go back and just re-highlight the top edges. I didn't need to do that on the whole piece because you're not going to see the bottom half of these, you're only going to see the tops. But I just feel like if you were looking from the side, at least it would look like it was all the same color. So for the top edges, I just went back and re-highlighted those waves at the top there. Super easy. You don't have to do this on an oval. You could easily do the same idea on a square or a rectangle piece. It's just the idea behind it. And then start with, for my sand, I'm going to use some antique linen distress ink, and I've also added, you'll see there, those funny little wavy things on that piece are the accent, the sandy accents. So what it does is it creates an accent on there in the, like what would be sand, but it's basically die cuts just a little gap so you can stick things in there. It's perfect. I love it. And then I used some brushed corduroy, along the edge just to create that more sandy look. So I thought it looked quite cool. And of course I'm going to spritz it. And being a mixed media paper, and this one in particular, wasn't too bad. It worked pretty well. You know, I think in the last video I was talking about, or one of them I was talking about acrylic paper. That doesn't do what this does. This, you know, this is why I say papers are so different. You have to try them just to see what happens. And just because it's a less expensive paper doesn't mean that it's going to be like a not very good. It may turn out to be brilliant, and you might love it, and it's cheap and cheerful. Great. It might turn out to be really bad, in which case you don't buy it again. So I've had that too. So yeah, you just have to try it out. And then there's this extra little piece in the stamp set that's kind of like extra sand grains, I guess you'd call them. So I'm just using the brushed corduroy now that this piece is dry, just for some added texture in the background, on the sandy piece. You can splatter as well if you wanted to do it that way. So what I decided to do is, because I need to line these up and it's oval and I can't always, you know me, I can't get my eye in, and as it is I think I actually cut some of these a little bit wonky. So, but it doesn't matter because it's the ocean and it's waves and they will be irregular. They don't need to be perfectly straight. That's what I'm telling myself. So I thought a wet adhesive would just be a little bit easier to actually line up, and also to move it if I needed to move it while I'm lining those pieces up. It actually wasn't that bad in the end, but that was the sort of like, oh my god, am I gonna be able to line these up straight? I lined them up with the edge of the oval, and that lined it up. However, whatever angle I landed up cutting those waves out, so that's how they landed up. Honestly, you can't tell that much, and like I say, ocean waves are irregular anyway, just by default, because of what they are. So I'm not going to beat myself up about that anymore. And yes, there's a lot of layers on this card, and it's kind of heavy, but it's still flat. Everything's pretty much flat. The thing on this sandy piece is just to be aware of where you're putting your adhesive, because you don't want adhesive below the openings of those little cut lines, and where the accent piece has been used, because you need to be able to get in there to stick pieces in, and it'll make sense in a minute when I actually put more of this together. So I'm on to the final piece, final card that I have that I had pre-cut from like forever ago, and I just thought, you know what, I'm going to use it on this card. So I'm using some Salty Ocean around the edges just to give it that sort of more oceany look, and actually it works out quite well because I like the color that it turned out. So the card base is actually a piece of mint macaron Stampin' Up! Cardstock, I believe. And yes, I spritzed it as well. Obviously it's regular cardstock, it's not going to react the same way, but there is some reaction in the background, so it's quite cool. It worked out all right. In hindsight, I should have left that background as it was. You will see in the end I do finagle it. I don't totally love it, and I may actually take, it sounds criminal, I may actually take the oval piece off and put it on something else. Maybe I should have made it into a whole oval shaped card. That might have been quite nice as well. So on my beach bums, I'm putting hashtag in front of it because I just thought that was hysterical. And yes, although I don't like the heat, I love the ocean. So yeah, beach bum kind of sums that up for me. Anyway, so I'm just going to stick this whole piece now onto the front here, and just forgive me, I tried to line this up and I still didn't line it up properly, so whatever. We're just going with it. It's a little lower than it should be, but the tape that I have is so strong that it just sticks. Once it goes, it goes. So I'm now just going to place all my little pieces. I also added a little smiley face, which again is included in the same stamp set, to my sun. I thought, why not? And then because there are so many layers of cardstock, I needed to like pop up part of the images on some of them and not pop up the other part of it. So for example, on the hippo, the top half of her has got some foam on it, but the like where her feet are, it will just have some double-sided double-sided tape so that it's flat there, so that the whole piece then is level, and not sitting wonky. That makes sense. So I had to do the same thing with the little flag, and then the sun I actually popped up on a piece of foam tape, like a pop dot thing, because I thought, why not? So for these little guys, they're all stuck flat, but you see how you can stick them inside the sand, so it looks like they're sat in the sand. So I've got the bucket in there, I've got the little tortoise or turtle, and then I have the little bird, and she just slides in there as well, as if she's walking around in the sand. I just think it's so cute. So this is also another way that you can combine different products from different companies to create this cool scenery. So the flag, it took me a minute or two for some reason. I don't know why, it's not difficult, to like figure out where I wanted to place it. Actually the main reason I guess is because I didn't want the flag to be the same height as the hippo. I think with things like this, with sceneries and things, you need things just to sit at different levels or different angles so that it gives it more, it's more interesting, I think. So in the end I just put it off to one side. I could have also had a piece somewhere, one of those little sandy accents, so that the sign could also be inside the sand, as it were. And then this is where I should have just left well alone and I didn't. There are two types, like two different angles, going two different directions, these little like splashes. I decided to create a background out of them. One in the top right, I didn't stamp properly, then tried to stamp and then messed it up, so you know, yay me. This is when I wish I'd left it alone. And then I just basically used the Salty Ocean and went around the edges just to give it some extra, and just every time I'm stamping it, I'm turning a different angle, a different way as well, so it gives it more interest. And stamping off the page also creates that look that it's from another whole piece of paper. and then I just edge the edge edge the edge with some Salty Ocean as well, just for added extra. And that's pretty much it. I am gonna add a bit of a glaze pen, a black glaze pen by Sakura for the eyes, and I'm first going to use a aqua shimmer pen. I've said this in a couple of videos now. This thing and me do not get on. I don't know why. I cannot get the flow of this ink, I guess, to come out, and so yeah, I never feel like there's enough shimmer on there. So, when there really should be. But I used it as best I could around the accent pieces in the sand, so that there was a bit of shimmer on the sand and on the sun, of course, because you need a sparkly sun. And I'm going to use a Sakura, like I said, a Sakura black glaze pen. This is great for accenting like little dots, so things like eyes on a lot of stamped characters. It just highlights that eye and brings it out. Just makes it shine, and it's just the coolest thing. But these little eyes were really, really little, so I kind of messed up on a couple of them, but you know, you can't really see that here. And then I've also got a white jelly roll pen by Sakura as well. Again, this is another gotta have it pen in your stash, and I used this for little dot details for the cheeks, and then also some line detail, just little lines and dots. Not everywhere, I didn't go overkill on it, just a few places where I just added it, just for some highlights. I don't think about what I'm doing when I do the highlights, by the way. I just kind of do it. So I don't think about, you know, where the highlight would be coming from, or you know, what angle the light's coming from and stuff like that. I just go with it, and that's pretty much it. So I hope you enjoyed this. I hope you drag out some other shaped stack dies that you have and create little scenes on them, and drag out sort of different companies' product and try and use them together, because I think that's the way you're going to get the most out of the product that you have, is to just mix and match. So I hope you've enjoyed this, guys, and I will see you in the next one. Bye.